Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, and in today's video we are taking a look at the Premium Deluxe and Deluxe aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're going to take them all for a flight. This is all the new aircraft, I should say, new airplanes that have arrived. These are some really interesting ones. They've come from all sorts of different parts of aviation, so we're going to have a lot of fun trying them out in their own respective little worlds. We're just going to take them for a spin to see what we think of them. Later on I'll be covering in particular the more detailed aircraft with full-on videos and flights, so that will be coming a bit later. But in today's video we're just going to see whether we think it is worth upgrading yourself to either Deluxe or Premium Deluxe, and if these airplanes are going to be suitable for you. So hopefully it'll be useful. You can just see what they're about and make that decision yourself, or maybe if you want to buy them separately when they become available. Like I say, we'll be taking them from a short flight and seeing some of their unique features. A lot of fun to be had. Starting out with all of the Deluxe aircraft, and then we'll have the Premium Deluxe aircraft as well later on in the video. Over this series, I've covered all of the airplanes that have been added into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So do check out Part 1 and Part 2, which follow the first standard edition additional aircraft. We've seen a total of 45 new airplanes in this simulator. Unbelievable. So let's get started. So first up, and included in the Deluxe edition, is the Grumman HU16 Albatross. This is a large winged version of the Albatross, and it is absolutely beautiful, designed for rescue missions. So let's take it out in the sim. Just in terms of configuring, we have the option to have this in this lovely rescue. There's also different flight decks, so you can have the old school with the GPS, or you can have a modern, more G1000 if that's what you're used to, slightly more kitted out. And look at that, it's not just a small sort of swap over. They've done the full instruments in the new way, which I think is absolutely great. You get a couple of liveries as well, a nice US Navy and a livery one. Now of course I'm going to fly it in the retro instrument panel, but there we go. So here we have the Grumman Albatross. This is a really cool aeroplane. It's designed to land on open ocean for search and rescue missions, so it'd be no good if it couldn't do that. A lot of seaworthy airplanes aren't as seaworthy as you might imagine, so you can end up with them not actually being able to land where you would hope. But this has a big deep bow. It's got wide wings with the buoyancy aids on the wingtips to stop it tipping in, and it can land in up to almost 2 meter swells, and if you went above that you needed sort of jet assisted, but it could do quite amazing things considering it is ultimately an aeroplane. This is a really nice add-on as well, by the way. I am super impressed with this one. So we're going to release the parking brake, then we're going to just trickle the power on. Throttles are on the overhead, as is common on this style of aeroplane for some reason. Let's put out a stage of flaps. Okay, powering on then. It does have reverse available as well, which is quite unusual for a piston engine aeroplane like this, but there we go. Full power. Make sure we do it with the right QNH set. And away we go. Bit of yaw. Quite a big cross section, so susceptible to crosswinds, wouldn't be a surprise here. But it will climb out at very low speeds. Yeah, it's a windy day today. Turbulence is a little bit strong in Flight Simulator 2024, I'll tell you that. That is definitely the case. Right, climbing away, let it weathercock, and retract the landing gear. We won't be needing those anymore. And we are up and underway. Get ready for the fun. We're going to land it out on the sea, right next to the airport here. Absolutely awesome. So why do I like this add-on so much? Well, this is a detailed add-on that just flies absolutely beautifully. The flight deck is really nicely represented. Now, once again, we are running into some sort of streaming issues where unbelievably the thing it's decided to sacrifice is, oh there we go, they're back. It's the detail on the airspeed indicator and the vertical speed, but they are back now, so that's good news. What we've also got is the fact that this is just a well-worn flight deck. You've got scratches around, and you have a whole cabin behind us, which I think is really nice, sort of a retro feel into it. This was made in the late 40s, the first ones, although this is obviously a slightly later version, upgraded in some ways with the avionics and so on. Let's power back a bit, bring in the flaps, and just take it for a quick flight over the island. So we're going to spend a little bit of extra time on this one compared to the others in my video, or my videos so far, just because it's so beautiful. It sounds lovely, it looks lovely, and the flight deck is immaculate in the sense that the way it's been crafted. Sorry, it's not a clean flight deck, it's beautiful. In particular, it's this glare shield material, similar to what they have on the Airbus in blue these days, but it looks stunning, and it somehow, just that detail there brings the whole thing to life so nicely. But it's true on the outside as well. It's a gorgeous looking machine from any angle. There's no way around it. Designed for search and rescue, like I say, so it had to be able to land out in the ocean, otherwise it's a bit pointless. And we've got some extra fuel tanks there on the wings. And what you can do on the inside is, you'll see that the cowl flaps on these piston engines, they're actually underneath, and they're wide open right now, but as you gain speed you would retract those, and you can even do that down here, so we can close the flaps. Sorry, that's the oil coolers. Won't close those just yet. Let's close the cowl flaps though. And you bring them in, and then they will gradually close. There's the left ones. Let's see if we can close the left all the way up. But just look at the flight deck as we run it all. See the shadows moving around. Beautiful. Quite a powerful airplane as well. There you go. Nice and streamlined. It's a powerful machine, so you can get some good distance covered in this. Climbs away lovely. And another thing I love about the flight deck, let's dive down now. Let's just bring those throttles back. There we go. As you look around the flight deck, you'll see that even the windows, and this is true on most aeroplanes, just around the edge, the window distorts your vision outside. So you can see it on this interior panel here where it's been fitted, and then you can see it on the left side as well. Look around here, there's distortion. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and a detail I've never seen in a flight simulator before. It really brings it to the next level, makes this feel like a real machine. Absolutely love that. Let's take it in for a landing then. Of course, like all these machines, we have our checklist available in the EFB. And I don't know if it has a water landing or not. Before landing, there you go. We need to open the cowl flaps, max RPM. Well, that's what we've got, and we'll just put a bit of flap out and slow it down. Flight Simulator 2024 looking just lovely. So we'll start slowing it down, and we'll land ourselves. I'm not sure where they would land here in reality, but we're gonna, I think, come around and we'll land in this bay here. Why not? So stage of flaps, trickle the power on. And we'll open the left cowl flap again. So yeah, this is a lovely handling machine. It works as you would expect it to. It flies just beautifully. It really brings it to life. And as you go around the outside, you can just see from any angle the detail, the panels, the way the rivets indent in. Oh, there we go. Bit of turbulence. Sometimes some flaps. It's a real treat, this one. I absolutely love just cruising it around. Okay, a slight change of plan now. We're going to land it actually out on the bay, across the beach, across the famous beach, just because there isn't actually as much room as I thought there to land a seaplane. So we've got our first stage of flap out, and now we'll bring it round. Absolutely beautiful. Just love flying this one in the sim. It's a real treat. So let's bring it around for a spiraling turn. Throttles are all the way back now. It does have reverse for when we land. We've got one stage of flap out, like I said. Start bringing the speed back, get the next stage of flap out. Now, like I say, it can land in open ocean, but you're going to have a hard time if you've got serious bumps in the waves. That does not make it easy to let it settle onto the water. So I'm just going to try and land it on this stretch across here. Right, flaps are out. We'll go full flap. I've never done a water aircraft rating, so I don't know what would be normal sort of flap setting. I'm imagining full flap, but I don't know. That could mean the nose is a little bit too low. You might want the nose to be higher. So certainly we're going to bring the speed right back. The only information I have on water landings is instructions on how to ditch aircraft. That's all I've ever seen about it. So I'm just going to get it into the flare, get the nose up to a nice sensible position. There we go. Keep raising that nose. Keep holding it off. Holding it off. Holding it off. And then I want it to settle right in the middle of the bow. Okay. Holding that nose up. Don't want it to dig in. Letting the water. It sits on the plane and then it will drag itself down. Oh, like that. That's a little too strong a deceleration, I would imagine. And there we go. We are on the water. And now you will either need to taxi by using asymmetric thrust, which you can do. There's the magic of having a twin. And you can see there, we can rev it round the corner. Or, if you have any airflow, you can use the rudder. So, not the easiest thing ever, but absolutely beautiful and a good challenge. And it's a serious airplane. It can actually handle the water with some level of confidence, which is not true of all seaplanes, of course. Worth noting, another reason that this airplane I think will be very enjoyable, aside from looking, sounding and feeling fantastic, is that you do have the avionics you want. You've got a GPS in the flight deck, so you can load in a route in Flight Simulator's planning tool, and you can load it into here. But as well as that, you can, of course, tune your VORs and track them as you would expect to. I do need to do a bit of work on figuring out where the radio... Oh, yeah, of course. No, the radio is through the GPS now. So you would tune your VOR and the GPS or your ILS, and then you can display it on your horizontal situation indicator. That's for the slightly more advanced pilots who want to do it using instruments. But, of course, you can just draw in a line, a route in your GPS, or send it straight into the simulator using the flight planner. And, yeah, you've got all the options you could want. So... lovely. It's just a joy. Like, you don't even need to go cross country in this airplane. I love loading it up and just flying it around somewhere beautiful, especially somewhere exotic like this. It looks the part. It's awesome. I struggled when I saw the aircraft list to understand quite why the Deluxe aircraft were like they were. They seemed a little bit unusual to me as choices to try and tempt people from standard up to Deluxe. The premium Deluxe made sense to me. You had the heavy Boeings in there, the Saab 340, so you had a few airliners. But the Deluxe edition had 5 new airplanes, of which I just really couldn't quite understand the appeal. However, I'm beginning to realise why. This Albatross is lovely, and this is in the Deluxe. You don't need premium Deluxe to get this, and we're going to see a couple of the other aircraft included in this section are also excellent. There seems to be a high quality of the 5 new airplanes in the Deluxe version that makes them desirable, even if the actual aircraft themselves you may not have thought about before. Next up, we have the Cessna Company 188 AGTruck. Comes with a few liveries. We'll fly it in the classic red, I think. It looks really nice. This is similar to the Air Tractor, an agricultural crop spraying style aircraft, so let's take it for a spin. Included, this one, in, again, the Deluxe edition. Not Premium Deluxe, just the Deluxe. Now, the Cessna 188, it was built from the late 60s to the early 80s, and it was done after Cessna surveyed pilots and industry to see what they needed in the agricultural sector, and this is what they ended up with. So it's no surprise it's very similar to the Air Tractor. It is filling the same market role, but this is an older sort of airplane, as you can see from the quite modern Air Tractor that you get provided in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Again, this is Deluxe, not Premium Deluxe, and again, an odd choice. I thought, why would anyone choose to upgrade to the Deluxe edition just to get this airplane when you already have the Air Tractor? But this is all round just a superb quality add-on, and that's obvious, and I think you can see as we go around the exterior. Look at the panels and the detailing. This is again taking Flight Simulator to the next level over what we saw in 2020 aircraft. I know there were airplanes that looked this good, but they weren't default airplanes. This is really fantastic, and considering the upgrade fee, I'm starting to think the Deluxe edition is an equally valid choice to Premium Deluxe if that's where you want to go, because this, if you're going to fly this, is going to be an absolutely lovely add-on. Look at all the bits of chips of metal missing, the dents, the rivets. This looks like a working 80s aeroplane. I absolutely love the design of the exterior. Also, of course, agricultural equipment done really nicely. Got all the bits. I mean, far more than I know what's going on. Loads and loads of bits of equipment. I don't even know how these things are powered or where they get the pressure from, presumably from the engine. It looks like it's plugged in somehow. But there we go. Absolutely gorgeous. So I want to see maneuverability, I want to see some crop spraying, and I want to see it have a relatively short takeoff. It needs to get in and out of farm strips, really, doesn't it, to be of any use to anyone. You don't want this needing a full concrete runway. So we've got it here and on this grass strip, and let's see if we can get it into the air. Now, quite why Microsoft Flight Simulator insists on putting the aircraft so far down the runway when you spawn in, I don't know. It's a bit of a shame, especially when you have aircraft without reverse, because there's a fair bit wasted behind me if you look down there. So we might need to taxi down and then go and use that instead. On the flight deck of the Cessna truck, and we can see that it is a little bit older. There's no GPS in here. This is designed for work. You're not going to take it very far away from where you start, and it is just a practical aeroplane. It's really nice. I like it. Quite different. Just a rugged, minimalist feel. No artificial horizon here, you'll notice, either, because you're going to be looking outside. You're not flying this around on instruments or even taking it on cross-country tours. You're in this just for work when the weather's right for it. Notice as well, there's different tint on the windows. I quite like that. Sort of a bluey tint on the side ones and slightly clear through the front. Just these little details that give a sense of a living, breathing aeroplane. I like it. Excellent. Love it. All the detail. This is, like I say, just beautifully made. So release the parking brake. Feed on the power. It will, I suspect, climb away no trouble. Just got to keep those wings level, keep it straight down the centre line with the rudder. It does have a tendency to drop a wing on you, so don't. There you go, keeping it just off the stall. There we go. Don't be too aggressive with the yaw, and the wings do roll around with that. But yeah, there we go. Away, climbing. lower the nose, let it accelerate. Safely climbing away. And then you can bring the little stage of flaps we had out. Perhaps need a bit more there. Just lovely. This is a very nice handling airplane as well. It does fly as nice as it looks. It can do some quite maneuverable things. You know, you can really get it rolling, and you've got a big straight wing. It's not overly powerful, especially when it's full of fuel and liquid for crop spraying. You do have to be aware of that, because you can find yourself running out of energy with it. But you can bank it round at relatively extreme angles. You can hear the stall water starting to pick up there. Just watch out for the power lines. So what we need to do is check that it can, of course, crop spray. So I don't, again, have any experience of crop spraying. It's not something you see much of in the UK, where I'm from. But we'll put out first stage of flap, and we'll just run a line down this field. Again, trying to miss the power lines. Now the keyboard shortcut is simply Z. That's all you need in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is pretty handy, an easy one to remember. It's just a gorgeous model. I'm really, really impressed with it. Okay, sticking the power on a bit, just get nice and low, and there we go, turn on the spraying. Now the only thing is, unlike the air tractor, it doesn't have that really nice sort of vortex that you see in the air tractor one, with the way the swirl, it swirls up, but still very cool. Again, would be good fun in some missions. Make sure you don't climb away without power on. You can see as well the wing brace to sort of brace that wing for higher G, I assume. I don't quite know why they've done that, but yeah, they've definitely braced the wing for something. And away we go, climbing away. So just lovely. This is a really nice one. Look at that. You can do your banking and still check on your field. Oof, we are really pushing the limits of the of the Anglo attack there. So yeah, lovely all round. Again, an impressive airplane, and I think the Deluxe has another nice one here. That's two really lovely ones so far. Next up is the Cessna 404 Titan. That is here, made by Microsoft Carinado. Now this one is another interesting one. I didn't really know much about this airplane. It was the Cessna's largest twin at the time it was made. Went on to be used for, obviously, it's a big, heavy twin piston, but it's also used for some military applications as well as Coast Guard applications. But yeah, this is a big cruising aeroplane. Reminds me a bit of the Piper Aerostar, if any of you know that. Well, an airplane I absolutely love. So there you go, air ambulance, cargo passengers, and cargo loaders. Let's go for a passenger variant and then have a look at the liveries. They give you a few liveries for each. So let's go for, that looks suitably, oh no, the blue, very nice, the more modern livery. That's a bit too modern. I think we'll go for this one. That looks pretty retro to me. So let's take it for a spin. This one you're going to want to watch. So let's take a look around the outside of the Cessna 404 Titan. And what you'll soon see is that this is just a ridiculously detailed add-on. Absolutely love it. By the way, check out this. Something you normally see on larger airliners. The landing lights actually fold away into the wing. Absolutely love that. They do pop out. But as you move around, you'll see that the detail again is just excellent. This is as good as we've seen in any of the Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft, and leaps and bounds ahead of any default airplane we've seen before. Every panel, every rivet, the way it's dented in, I'm super impressed. I haven't used many. This is a Carinado aircraft, and I haven't used many in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, I'm ashamed to say, and I'm regretting that, because if this was the standard they were up to, this is excellent. As you move around it, you see all around they've just captured the wear and tear feel of these general aviation airplanes, and this is exactly what I like to see. Scratches around panels that are frequently removed by engineering and so on. Just love it. As you move around the whole airframe, this is just true of everything. The panels don't quite align perfectly. The rivets and the quick release screws are just dented in slightly more than might be desirable, but just enough to make it acceptable for an airplane of this sort of standard. And you can see there with that taxi light just glinting through. It looks gorgeous all the way around. And this is a big machine. It's a bit of a beast, actually. It's going to be really useful for some longer range stuff. You want to fly around some remote areas. You know, you've got your twin engines, you've got the range, you've got the speed and the height. This is awesome. This is a really cool airplane and beautifully represented. Let's jump into the cockpit now, and you'll see what I'm talking about in here. Again, well used, well worn. This airplane was being built. When was it being built? This is in the late 70s to early 80s. Not actually built for long. About 400 were built though, so quite a few. But yeah, it is just just excellent. It's exactly what I would expect to see for this era of aeroplane, and this is actually quite a common age, maybe slightly older, hence the level of wear, but it's a not uncommon age to be flying around flying club airplanes in the UK. Often things like this. It does have some oxygen controls down here as well, so I assume you'd need that. I don't believe it's pressurized, actually. I don't think it is, but certainly you'd need the oxygen if you're going to climb up to its service ceiling of 26,000 feet. It does have an autopilot down here. Again, they've done it properly. You've got the retro style buttons. I love it. So yeah, that is just great. And then you've got your GPS system over here for however you want to fly it. And what have we got down here? I'm not actually sure what these do. Maybe the lights for the instruments? Won't worry too much for now. Yeah, let's put them on to high. Okay, great. So let's get it into the air and take a look and a listen at it. So just release the parking brake, feed on the power. Now this is a very powerful airplane. You will need to be careful not to overboost the engines. Quite what the manifold setting for takeoff should be, I don't know. But it's with engines like this, with manifold pressures, you don't tend to run them all the way up to just throttles fully forward like you would on a typical piston engine. You would set it to an appropriate manifold pressure for takeoff, for example 35 or whatever the limitation is at your sea level and so on. So you'd work out that performance. And you'll see a detail I absolutely love. I'll get it safely in the air before I show you this. Let's see if I can do it from the outside. There it goes, up we go. Check that landing gear. Apologies for the oscillation, that's me. That's a feature of using an Xbox controller and trying to trim at the same time. It's not always that easy. So there we go, climbing away now. And if we look outside, a great feature you've got is, look, even the static wicks are wobbling around in the wind. Absolutely fantastic. So this is just showing you the level that they've brought to this aircraft. I hope one day we'll see, because it's quite common on airplanes like this, you might just see a bit of metal flexing in the sun or glinting, slight vibration through it, and I think that would be really cool to see modelled in one of these aircraft. This is, like I say, a bit more of a machine than you would expect. It's not a Piper Seneca or anything of that size. It's a bit more serious. You've got proper slotted Fowler flaps here, not just normal flaps or split flaps, and the way they move is, you know, you've got two sets of them as well. So this is a pretty serious machine. Love it. I am very, very impressed with this one. I absolutely love flying it around. Quite how you engage the autopilot, I don't know. There's probably a control somewhere else, but this is all things we will need to learn as we spend time with it. You can, of course, get rid of the yoke should you choose. Bring the power back now. Let the airplane accelerate. Quick and powerful though, it does climb and accelerate very nicely. Flaps are up. Look at that, roaring away. And then you could bring you'd have a slightly lower RPM for the climb, typically. Yeah, gorgeous. This is a nice one. I think you can have a lot of fun with this. Yeah, you can see those static wicks just about, if you look there. Flickering in the wind. That's awesome. Gorgeous, love it. This one's really impressed me. So far, of the three out of the new ones provided in the Deluxe edition, have really, really impressed me. Now, it's worth trying out the low-speed characteristics just to check out the flight model. You can hear the gear horn going off there. That's because I have got idle without the gear down, so it's warning me, which is a great feature to have. But if we just raise that nose through to the stall warner, I'm just curious what it behave like. You can hear the RPM dropping. Got a lot of extra energy. That's full up elevator, and down it goes. Quite stable, quite nice. Starting to get the signs of a spin here. Full up elevator still, and there we go. It's dropping out into a spin. I'm going to release all the controls. Yep, that was a spin for sure. Let's pull up out of that and recover to level flight. Nice and gently. Airspeed's back on. Getting the power on. Climb away, get it back in trim. So yeah, this is a nice flight model as well. I think there's definite improvements all round to the way aircraft handle in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This is something that was often discussed in 2020, but it's noticeable how, in general, and I know these are add-on airplanes, effectively they are third or first party aircraft, but they are excellent, and the way they handle is definitely better than even some of the best ones we had in 2020, which is a really good sign. That was just a lovely stall that developed into a spin quite naturally without me interfering or doing anything silly or having to hold rudder in.
Just real problems with airplanes, and some airplanes are challenging now in the realistic flight model. They can be difficult to fly. Next up, we have the Cessna 408 SkyCourier. This is a relatively new airplane. This only started being first flying in 2020. So yeah, this is probably one of the newest airplanes here. So there's not that many out there. This was built by Cessna to provide cargo operations and be a sort of a good utility aircraft, and that will all become very obvious what they did to it to make that happen once we get it in the air. But here's the options you get. So yeah, passenger, cargo, empty, and then they do have a spray system. I'm not sure what that means. I'll just click on it and see that what it loads up. And look, it's got gear skids, it says. So I'm not sure if this is fictional or not yet. I haven't seen any pictures of a ski-based one. But yeah, anyway, we're going to take it out as a classic cargo airplane, as that seems what it's primarily going to be destined to do. And yeah, a few nice liveries here. It's a bit odd the way it loads in. There we go. So yeah, as ever, we're just struggling to get any of the data downloaded because none of it's loaded on our machine, thanks to the way Flight Simulator 2024 is currently set up. But let's take it for a spin. So here is our rather lovely Cessna 408 SkyCourier, loaded up at Lukla. Not really sure it's designed for Lukla. For those of you not familiar, this is obviously the airfield that's used for access to Mount Everest, and it's included in the I'm not sure which scenery pack you need, whether it's Deluxe or Premium Deluxe or in the Standard Edition, but anyway, it is a detailed airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Absolutely lovely. And yeah, I thought this would be an appropriate place to bring an airplane like this. High performance utility airplane designed to get lots of cargo in and out. So as you can see, it's a huge square fuselage, which is a design that we've seen before actually in things like the famous Shed and aircraft we've flown in Flight Simulator 2020, the Caravans and so on. It's this shape so that obviously you can fit bulky outsized cargo. That's its key reason to exist. So it's not going to look streamlined and beautiful. It needs to be square and take bulky objects with ease. Hence also this huge door at the back here. But as you look around, you can see it is quite a modern airplane. It uses PT6A engines. These are common, reliable and very proven turboprop engines. It's interesting that even in 2020 these are still being fitted to airplanes, obviously newer versions of that engine. But yeah, very, very popular turboprop, just so perfect for aircraft of this size, used in loads and loads of different airplanes. But as you look around, you can see lots of detail. This is a nice model. It's not quite as lived in as some of the other airplanes, but that does make sense, being that it's a newer machine, and that sort of detail does stick out actually. As you go around, it's all still here. Like, I've been really impressed with the riveting. This is just next level stuff we're seeing now in 2024, and again, great to see it on default airplanes at launch. I mean, just brilliant. Even look at the materials, the different metal around the windscreen, which is true to the real airplane. It looks just fantastic. So again, this was a Deluxe airplane that I was surprised was being used to try and tempt people up to Deluxe, but now I have my hands on it, I can sort of say, well, yeah, it's a good one. This is very different to the previous ones we've seen so far, in that this is very modern flight deck, which we'll see when we jump inside. But you can see a few other little bits. I love seeing things like these little wingtip, I forget what they're called now, these strakes I suppose. These are used to prevent separation on the wing at certain angles of attack and to keep the ailerons working. It's just something that they would have added in as they test flew it to decide how to make it happen. Some strange things about it: this gear does not retract. It looks like there's little pods here for it, but they're not. The gear is fixed down. This is a utility airplane, and I don't know whether it's really going to work off of off-road strips. I couldn't find much evidence for that. I don't think that's really the intention. They're pretty small wheels, you know, and not the most ground clearance, so it does have a nice high wing. Anyway, let's take it in the air, enough talking. Right, so this is a relatively powerful airplane. It's got a lot of oomph to it, but it doesn't go very fast, so you'll see what I mean by that. It's just about getting itself off the ground. It's not very streamlined, is it? It's designed to take a lot of cargo into some tricky airports. I think we'll be able to get out of Lukla here today, no trouble. So we've got 2 stages of flap. I'm going to rev the engines up. It does give us warnings, so again we are seeing some good warnings here. Some actual aircraft systems complaints. Going full power now, and you'll see that we get the PWS cold, engine exceedances. Now, I don't think it's quite realistic to get them straight away like that, but there we go. But it is complaining about the temperature of the engine, so I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. I don't know this airplane well enough, but it's nice to see them modelled. Into rotation now, and we've made it off the ski jump. Climbing away now, we get the don't sink caution because we are gently sinking, even though it looks like we're climbing away. That is the trick of Lukla. And here we go. Enjoy the aeroplane. It's going to keep complaining at us. There we go, getting a good rate of climb now. Bringing a stage of flap, trimming it out. Now this is all round a nice aeroplane. It's surprisingly responsive as well. You'll be surprised to see how maneuverable it is. As you see here, as we get too close to this hillside, you can really give it a bit of a oomph in the turns, and it can handle it. Bring the flaps all the way up there as we exceed the speed limit, and that's it. We're climbing away. So I think you can have some good fun with this. You can take it in and out some really interesting places. You saw there, looked at absolutely no issue at all, and it has a good bit of power, nice modern flight deck. It's cool. This is a cool and interesting airplane, and it'll be fun to see what you can do with it. Let's bring it back round again. I have now reduced the turbulence from realistic to medium. The realistic setting was just too extreme for this for this simulator. You often places like Lukla, even with light winds, you just couldn't get the airplane to climb at all. So let's bring it back round and into the valley, and you'll see here, even on medium, we're getting thrown around. But yeah, a nice airplane. This has an autopilot as well, which of course does work. If you want, you can put on your flight directors, and you can have yaw damper and autopilot if you fancy. Roll and pitch hold, and then we can put it into out holds, and it should level off there, and we can put it into heading, and it will fly the heading bug. So yeah, as you can see, all works nicely. And then of course you could load your route in through Flight Simulator and have it flying along your route. One problem with the propeller airplanes in Flight Simulator 2024 so far is this continued sort of strobing effect. This is something you'd see with cameras usually, and it seems, I don't know whether it's just for me or whether everyone's getting it, but yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance. It does ruin the rather lovely propeller effects, because the propellers themselves look great, but the shadows do have this sort of strobe effect. There we go. So let's bring it round for a landing. So let's bring it in now. This is a lovely flight deck, I must say. I'm very impressed with it. So I'm just going to bring the power right back. You've got to be careful. With the Xbox controller, Flight Simulator 2024 will allow you to go into the beta range in flight, which is obviously a complete no-no, and will drag the airplane out of the sky almost immediately. There's the airport, so bringing it round. But yeah, very nice cockpit, lots of nice textures in here. This is an enjoyable airplane to fly, and it has its own sort of set of handling characteristics. So let's try, we've got to keep a very hard visual picture into Lukla. You basically have to have the altitudes, which I haven't looked up for today's flight, which will tell you whether you're in the right place coming in over the markers and so on as you cross different valleys and rivers. But here we go, 100 knots, so you can see you can get the speed right back. It's very responsive. Yeah, this is a cool aeroplane. I like it more than I thought I would. I wasn't too fussed about it. And again, another one that I thought, well, I don't know why this is going to be meant to tempt anyone into the Deluxe version. Touchdown, please. There we go. Onto the reverse. No trouble. That's without even using the brakes. Now we need to get into forward, or we're going to roll backwards. There we go. Good. Welcome. Let's check those idle. There we go. Welcome back to Lukla. So yeah, this is a cool aeroplane. I think it's going to have some fun utility applications, and probably will be pretty good in the career mode. I think that could be a really handy machine. Fly to lots of cool places. Very nice. Finally, for the Deluxe aircraft then, the new Deluxe aircraft is the Dornier SeaStar. This is a rare airplane to see. Only 2 builds, I believe. It's a twin-engined amphibious aircraft, so let's take it for a flight. So here is the Dornier SeaStar. Now this is an airplane I would have painted in bright yellow if I was flying anything off the water, or I expected to land it on water regularly. I'd want it as bright as possible. It's a cool looking machine. It has some interesting features, such as having these wide, they call them sponsons, on the side, so it gives a bit of better stability for the wheels, because of course the problem with seaplanes is trying to fit the wheels in, so they can go out there, and also a bit of improved stability, and helps its takeoff runs on the water, I believe. Also, propeller up and high out the way. Obviously you need that. You need it out the way of the water and the sea spray, otherwise it's going to damage it or lose efficiency. And most noticeably, it's a twin engine, 2 PT6A engines, very popular engine. We've seen that in lots of airplanes, even in this video today. But yeah, 2 mounted forward and backwards configuration, which is really cool. So that's something quite different. Exterior model is nice on this one. It's a bit of a unique and strange airplane, so I don't know how much flying you're going to do with it if you do pick it up. But it's a really nice detail. Again, like it's too clean is my only complaint about it. It does look incredibly immaculate, like it's just been freshly painted this morning. But aside from that, interesting design, cool to see represented. Probably not something you're going to go too much of a distance in, but let's hop in. It's a modern flight deck as well, rather similar to the last Cessna we just saw, except this is of course the Dornier. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We have an AFB mounted here. We've got the autopilot panel up here. It's even got fire discharging things. I don't know if they're modeled or not. I'm not going to play with them right now. But yeah, it's actually more detailed inside than I imagined. And you can see here, look at this, even the animations on the handles, these are all correct. We're going to jump out now, aren't we? Oh no, we're not. Good, good, good. I thought it just throws out the airplane. So this is a nice interior actually. I really quite like it. Again, it's not long ago that the idea of this sort of standard of default aircraft was just incomprehensible. So let's take it for a flight. We have a stage of flap out. I'll release the parking brake. Gear door open. Well, that's presumably that nose gear door is hanging down. But yeah, or maybe that's a warning for landing on water. So let's get going. Now, a lot of these airplanes do seem to generate cautions and warnings quite easily if you change the throttle too quickly, so that is something to be aware of. Yeah, so we've gone too far on the engine parameters there. 80 knots and it's already wanting to fly. I can feel it. So let's go. Positive climb. Bring the gear up. Awesome. Away we go. It's a sporty airplane. It's quick to get off the ground. We don't need those flaps anymore, I can tell you that. Let's get it into trim a bit. Nose rising too much there. Keep the nose down. There we go. And we are rocketing away. Get those flaps all the way up. So the real mission is, how does it fly off the water? So we're here in the Bahamas. Let's take it for a nice spin on the water. Absolutely gorgeous colour down there. This is a real treat of Microsoft Flight Simulator, just being able to just cruise around in these seaplanes and just pick beautiful blue beaches to go and land on and have a look at. Yeah, this is cool. I like it. I like it more than I thought I would. Again, that's a theme of all these Deluxe airplanes. Now it's way out of trim. It's trying to nosedive on me. Now, as ever, I have no clue how to land a seaplane. So this will be a bit of a trial and error. So I think we'll just bring it around into this bay here. It's a pretty looking machine. Again, I don't know how much I would be using this, but yeah, it's fun to give it a go anyway. I think this would be a really nice default aeroplane. The only thing is the premium Deluxe aircraft, sorry, the Deluxe aircraft are of such a high standard with that Cessna 404 and the transporter thing that it's pretty hard to ignore how nice those are. So this one feels a little bit more sterile perhaps than those. But it is also a more unique aircraft. Right, first stage of flap out, probably a bit too fast still. Bring it around into this bay. Beautiful water down there. Now that looks like we're going back into the flight idle there. Maybe that's idle. Don't want it too low. I'm not going to go full flap. I think this should be enough. Trickling the power back on. Just to have a nice steady flight above the water. Again, no idea how this would really work. Outside view for these sea landings is requirements, I think. There we go. That was a bit too abrupt into the water. But yeah, very stable, very straightforward actually. Makes the Albatross look quite difficult to handle on the water. Let's get slowed down. Cool though, cool design. I like having the push-pull propellers. Right, there we go. Dornier SeaStar. Now next up is this monster helicopter. This is the Airbus H225. This is based on a Eurocopter, I think, original design, and it was meant to be the next evolution and became branded under the Airbus brand. It is a huge helicopter. It can take up to 24 passengers. You've got 2 pilots, cabin attendant is possible as well, depending how you want it. And there is a military variant, and you can also, you know, it's thought for being used for either civilian transport, but more likely search and rescue and applications like that, or maybe VIP transport as well. It is a monster. Really, really cool. Look at that, two turbine engines powering it. So let's take this one for a spin. There are a few liveries here, so we've got quite a few cool ones. I quite like the orange. I think I'll go with the orange civilian for now. But there is obviously also the freight variant. Right, let's take it for a spin. So here is the H225. This is made by the Hype Group, who've done some amazing helicopters for Flight Simulator 2020. And yeah, this is absolutely awesome. Now, it looks incredible. The detail on the exterior is really just so good. You can zoom right in and look at all the bits. Sort of the cool thing about a helicopter like this is just how much utility there is in it, and they've really captured that. And this is just the civilian version, let alone the search and rescue. There's just bits sticking out all over the place. It's not an airliner, it's not a smooth, efficient thing. It is designed to work and work well in some challenging conditions as well. So yeah, it's really cool. Now, I have of course chosen the wrong livery for sitting outside the White House, but there we go. Now, the only trouble I've had with this helicopter so far, and this is just a me problem, is getting my controls configured properly. So we shall see that in just a moment. But look at it's just beautiful. Like, you can just look at it sitting on the ground. Look at that cockpit through all that glass. This is amazing. The level of detail we get in airplanes these days, just amazing. Look at all the wires going to all the avionics back there. This is why you have lots of cooling. This is, I'm guessing, the avionics ventilation tubes. But yeah, it's just fantastic. So yeah, this is a treat to look at from any angle. Let's hop in and take it for a spin, which is not going to be so easy. So here we are on the flight deck. We have our EFB. You sit in the right hand seat, obviously, as the captain of a helicopter, and it looks absolutely awesome. We've got our two engines giving our N1s, and then you have the torque in the middle there. You've got custom displays that just have so much information. I mean, look at it all. Absolutely awesome. So you could spend a lot of time messing around in here, and like I've just done, breaking it if you really wanted to. I don't know what I just pressed there. There we go. No, there we go. Right, good. We won't touch that again. Yeah, and then you have all sorts of controls that I don't fully appreciate or understand, and a beautiful view out. And it even has an FMS. You can put in a route and everything, or of course load in the Flight Simulator one. This is cool. This is a great one. This is one that is worth upgrading to. Now, this is the Premium Deluxe. To get this one, it's not included in the Deluxe. You need Premium Deluxe, but you can see why. This is going to appeal to a lot of people, I imagine. It's just really cool. Now, one problem I am having is just a me problem, like I say, is I can't figure the controls to work with my Xbox controller. I can't figure it out. Whatever I do, the collective or the throttle, it won't move, and that's down to me not fully understanding helicopters. The other helicopters do work with the current controls I have and the default controls for Flight Simulator. This one just doesn't. So the only option I have is to go with the full throttle or low throttle. So you're going to see how exciting that is in a minute when we take off. So if I press that, up we go, and it just flies off the helipad. It is a hugely powerful machine. I mean, look at it go. Away we go. Washington is a very cool place. There's the Smithsonian's. There's the monument. But yeah, so let's get the gear up and trying to keep it steady. Ooh. But it's a bit of an art when you haven't got control of the throttle. So yeah, I don't understand why I can't get this one to configure properly. This is something to investigate for the future, but I am fully confident that the Hype Group have got this right in terms of the way it handles, and I have seen other people managing, so this is more investigating required for me. But for now, this is beyond my capabilities in the sim, because as you can see, I'm over torquing the engine here, just running it too hard. But as you, absolute monster, just the speed we're already reaching, retractable gear. This is going to be really good for some missions once we get it sorted out. Look how fast it goes. Faster than an aeroplane. Awesome. Now it's the turn of the KingAir. This again is a premium deluxe aircraft, so it's here. It's the C90GTx version, which means it came with the winglets and a slightly higher takeoff weight. I think it's just almost 5 tons for this aircraft, or a little below. So yeah, again, in terms of the premium deluxe airplanes, this is perhaps not one that would call many people in, but it does have the air ambulance. It is, however, going to be useful for, of course, the career mode. It's a sort of a nice airplane to start flying out commercially or doing your instrument flying on. So yeah, like this livery actually, like the Beechcraft livery. So let's take this one up into the air and give it a go. So KingAir C90GTx, like I say, winglets. We see this airplane in a lot of flight simulators actually. It's been a bit of a mainstay. I think it was in FSX or a similar version of it. And yeah, it's a good all-rounder. It's going to be really useful for starting out, like I say, with your instrument flying. And this is the improved weight version. Quick, efficient, really interesting flight deck. We'll see that in just a moment. And 2 PT6 engines. Again, we see quite a few of those in the sim. Now this is a good version of this aircraft. Again, let's not confuse this with the default aircraft of old generation. Just lovely. as you go around. Even that tyre, look at the way there's like the sort of the loose dust on the tyres compared to the sidewalls. Absolutely gorgeous 3D model on this one. So this is something to enjoy, not something to be too wary of. I know pilots who've flown King Airs and are big fans of them, so I hope to see this one be just as enjoyable. Again, the riveting and the way the panels are deformed, the metal's sort of warped around where it's joined onto the frame. It's all there. It looks lovely. Let's take it for a spin over Lake Tahoe. Losing the parking brake. Feeding on the power. Be careful again. This was another one that can overtalk. You'll see the flight deck is full of dials. This is actually not as modern as what we've seen from that new Cessna cargo aircraft or the Dornier SeaStar. It's got an autopilot panel up here, and I like the custom dials we're getting to see more and more of in these simulators. Okay, a bit more power than that. A bit more power than that. Go. There we go, actually getting out to a takeoff thrust setting there. Now this would be used for, obviously, it's often used for private transport. Gear up. Oh, look at that, the gear lights up when it's not in the safe position. Love that. Yeah, private transport, or it's going to be used for, doctors use it in Australia, I believe King Airs are flown around as the sort of the remote doctor service. You'd also see it for perhaps search and rescue. There are some military applications to an airplane like this as well. Look at the detail on the panels here. The oil streaks coming back from the propeller hub. That's really cool. You do get oil leak out of propeller hubs on variable pitch propellers like this. It does happen. Oh, lost our textures for a second. There we go, they're back. Yeah, so this is a cool airplane with some nice, lots of nice uses. Oh, we're going the wrong way for the lake. It's back over there. Maneuverable, relatively powerful, and this is another nice model. Now again, I don't know many people who are going to get overly excited about the idea of a King Air, but then I think that, and then of course we see lots of interesting airplanes get lots of popularity in the simulator, so I'm sure I'm wrong there, but it wouldn't have been my first choice. Certainly not a reason for me to upgrade to the Premium Deluxe, which is what you have to do to get this aircraft. But again, once you're in it, not bad at all, really quite nice, and again just a level above what we've seen before from default. I've said that a million times in this video and I can't really stress it enough. They're just lovely. Just look what you can do with it. I'm having great fun trying all these airplanes out. I'm really enjoying making this video series to give them all a spin, because I could easily go months without having touched this airplane, and it's great. Yeah, gonna get some real speed on now. Give it a bit of a spin. Let's see how. I bet it's a little bit bitey. This sort of. Oh, again, really careful with the flight idle position. So it's complaining to me about the gear. So let's lower the gear, and let's bring the throttles to idle. There's the stall horn. And there's a stall. Oh, quite benign actually. Nose drop. It is lowering a wing. So let's get the nose down. Get out of the stall. Power on. And recover. 150 knots. Plenty of speed there. Get that gear up. Yeah. Was starting to drop a wing. And slightly difficult recovery. Quite heavy on the nose down when it did eventually go. Nice. Again, these flight models much improved over what we saw before. The airplanes are really feeling different, which is really nice. Now, something we should also try is single engine. That's what makes these aircraft difficult to fly. That's where you earn your money, is being able to handle these with an engine shut down. They have a lot of effects, more so than a jet. You get torque from the engine, meaning that one of the engines is actually worse than the other if it fails, because of well, not just the torque, sorry, the downgoing propeller produces more forward thrust. Don't ask me why, but it does. So yeah, you can get some serious effects from that. Although, were they counter-rotating? I'm not sure actually. I didn't check. Also, it obviously produces a lot of propeller wash over the wing. So if you lose that engine, you also lose lift immediately from the prop wash being missing on that wing. So what these airplanes tend to do, and this is true of all twin-engine piston airplanes really, if they're configured like this, is that they try to immediately flip over and dive into the ground. It's the famously challenging part of these aircraft. So let's give it a go. Let's see if we can trim it out. So I'm going to just bring it to roughly level flight, and we'll just bring one engine, do the right engine back to idle. You do need to feather it, so I'd imagine it's failed. So let's get it feathered. And fuel cutoff. Okay, now that should bring it to a stop. Feathering is important, it just reduces the windmilling effect of it. So hopefully that propeller will gently windmill. You can see it does look like it's at a course angle. If I get the airspeed back, it might wind down to a stop. Looks like it's slowing down. Looks like it's slowing down. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely feathered. So that's good to see, because I was worried it wouldn't. Now, the only thing I will say is there's not enough yaw here. There is a gentle yaw. I don't know. I haven't flown the King Air. The engines are quite centered. There we go. Now it's starting to do it. It took until that thing stopped rotating for it to really feel the effects. But I would imagine it'd be more extreme. This is sort of a gentle spiraling turn. I would imagine it'd be a little more aggressive. Let's just try if we go full power on the live engine. You should need a lot of rudder to get this airplane to fly straight. So that's perhaps a little bit on the softer side. However, I will leave that open to a King Air pilot to correct me if I'm wrong on that, because we have feathered the other propeller and we do have a good amount of forward airspeed. So it isn't the worst situation ever, but I'm still a little surprised. We can put in a bit of left rudder, and it should fly straight and level. There we go. So the mechanics work. I question whether it would need a little more effort than that to keep it straight and level once it's got one engine shut down, but there we go. I'm pleased to say that it did feather and we did survive. And like I say, if you're flying, this is a good scenario to lose an engine. Flying with lots of forward airspeed, that perhaps makes it a bit easier, but still, on takeoff, these planes can be particularly nasty.
Now we are onto the Boeing 747s. There is of course the 747-8, which is the old aircraft from the previous sim, but now we have the 747-400 LCF, which is their cargo freight Dreamlifter aircraft like the Beluga, and there is the GST, their firefighting aircraft. So let's take up the Dreamlifter to start with. So here we are in the Dreamlifter, and as you can see, it hasn't loaded into the simulator. I don't know why, but specifically the Dreamlifter has been really, really hard for me to get running. So yeah, a bit disappointing. This is something I didn't want to show in the video because it's actually a really nice airplane, and I want to do it justice. This is made by Working Title, but this is the problem with Flight Simulator 2024. It's still a problem for me. The moment the internet isn't absolutely perfect, you get the strangest effects, and they claim that, they said in one of the videos that the things that might be missing would be the non-essential bits, as they refer to it. But it's quite strange. I suppose the airplane does run, but the way, if you look at the controls, the flight controls, the inboard aileron doesn't work on this side. On the other side, it's going in reverse. Like, you get the strangest effects. So yeah, disappointing. I can see, however, that as a visual model, it is really nicely done for the bits that have loaded. So like I say, it's a shame that this is what we have to deal with. In the flight deck, though, which has loaded in, luckily, although we don't have the sounds, you can see what they've done in here is really, really nice. And this gives me a lot of optimism for using this airplane. This looks lovely. It looks just like a 747-400. These are from Boeing's previous generation, as it were. So this is the 76, 75, 74. They all have this sort of flight deck. 777 even is the last one that has this. 787 has moved on from this style. But it's similar modes, so if you're used to the 787, this will be very familiar to you, or the 777 from PMDG. Slightly older, but what I really like is, look, they've really got these CRT screens. These aren't LCDs, these are CRTs, and you can actually see, look at that, the slight curve in the screen. Absolutely lovely. So I'm excited for this airplane, and I would like some stability in using it, because I haven't yet successfully managed to get it to load with the sound properly. As you can see, it also loaded in strangely with the throttles up. So I'll put those back to idle. There we go. Right, so moving along, as you can see, it does have a lot of the details and even switching around that you would not necessarily expect to see. So this is a detailed airplane. This is because Working Title, they know how to do Boeings. They've done an astonishing job with the 787. So let's take a look in here, and you'll see that we have a fully functioning FMS, which I'm really impressed with. We are in Charleston, which is where the 747 Dreamlifter flies from and to. So we are going to just do a quick return route into here. Just to get the airplane in the air, just to show it to you. There it is, and we can call ourselves our normal test call sign. activate, execute. We're putting a departure. We're on runway 33, I believe. Yeah. And we're doing military 2, right hand C, and execute. And you can see it all just works. Look at that. So now we have the legs. It has the departure in there. If we go to init ref, now we can go to our performance and watch this. Love this feature because, of course, we don't have any specific performance calculator in here. You do have the option of the inbuilt EFB, but all that can tell you, or you can load in there, but you can check your CG, 17% it says there, but that's about it. I haven't been able to get the performance calculators to work in here, but fortunately they've solved that for us, because if I click here, it loads in the 0 fuel weights. I can put in my own reserves figure. Let's have 8 tons. Let's cruise at flight level 220, and we'll go across the next 22. And look, you can execute that. Then we go thrust limit, so we do a full thrust takeoff, and then we go to takeoff. Let's take off flaps 10, because that's what we already have. 10. By the way, look at these screens, all custom avionics that they've done really nicely. So again, really happy to see this 747 style. I love the 747-400. It's one of the airplanes that got me hooked on flying when I was growing up. It's also one that I had the DVDs, the in-flight DVDs for, so I've seen the flight deck explained a lot, and that's one of the reasons I quite like flying the Dreamliner these days, is because it reminds me of this aircraft, along with the 757, obviously. Those of you who watch the channel regularly will know that. If we look down here, takeoff ref page now, you can actually click, and again your CG fills in. So a lot of this fills in for you automatically just by clicking next to it. This is a great feature that makes life very easy and straightforward. So there we go. V2 is 165 today. So what I'm going to do is set 165 up here. Look at the dial, the reflections. It's lovely. So yeah, fantastic flight deck, and again, leaps and bounds ahead of what we had in the 747-8. Now, you might think my co-pilot looks a bit tall there, or the head close to the ceiling, but my understanding of the 747 is it is a very short flight deck. It's famously, from pilots I've known who've flown it, they all love the aeroplane, but it is quite cramped, I believe, and quite noisy on the flight deck because of the way it's designed, because you are, of course, squeezed in up here. So there we go. As you can see outside, we still haven't got an engine loaded. I mean, honestly, it's remarkable. But we do have some weights and speeds. We can arm LNAV, VNAV. We'll climb up to 10,000 feet. Let's just get the airplane in the air and have a look at it. Just before we do go flying, I want to give you a bit of detail on the outside, because they put a lot of effort into this. And like I say, it's a shame that Microsoft loading in isn't working so well. I've got this wired into my router with an Ethernet cable, and what's weird is the scenery around has loaded, and the runway's loaded and everything else, but the airplane itself is just refusing to. And I've had this with this aircraft before. I don't know if the servers aren't assigning it the right priority, but there we go. It is really cool design, modified. There's only 4 of these built, and you can see here where they've extended the fuselage over the top, and it is a 400, despite it looking a bit like a 200 because it doesn't have winglets, but they had to remove the winglets because of vibration. So it doesn't have winglets, but it is a 747-400. And then it's the rear hinge. So this entire tail section hinges off there, and that's how they get the cargo in and out, unlike the Beluga, which obviously has a big sort of mouth on top. So yeah, it's really cool. And even the 747-400 freighter obviously has a very different system where it loads in through the nose. So it's just really interesting, and it's a nice design. And like I say, the bits that have loaded in, the airplane looks lovely. It's not the most detailed of the aircraft we've seen, but it's certainly not bad by any means. Again, if this was fully loaded in, I would think this would be a very tempting airplane to draw you into the premium deluxe. But as you can see, just bits all over the place, and I've tried over and over again, and this is where we're at. So this is, yeah, Flight Simulator 2024 doing its thing. So like I say, flight deck very nice, avionics already impressive, and you can see we can move it into our map mode, change the scale, and it all works. It's fantastic. Working titles avionics are super. Let's just set our trim. We need 7 units of trim, so run that forward, back a bit. There we go. We're going to release the parking brake, spool up the engines. Now, another thing is, now I would press the toga button, but I have absolutely no idea where the toga button is located. Well, I believe it's either this lever or the one on the front, but you can't click those. I'll show you what I mean. We are still on the runway. And see all the bits. The same things didn't load in last time I tried this airplane. So I would think you'd click those, but it doesn't work. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to go full toga thrust ourselves, and then we'll engage automatics once we're underway, because we were expecting to do a full rated takeoff anyway. So there we go. Full throttle. It's amazing how high up. It's clear how high up you're sitting in this airplane. Now the trim seems to be a little bit tail heavy, but there we go. V1, rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Okay, I'm not entirely convinced about the takeoff there. I set the trim like it said to, and it did lift off a bit easily. This could be because the flight model's not loaded in properly, I don't know. And you can see the wings are flexing down. This is a real shame. There's real promise with this airplane, and yeah, it's just being let down by, I think, the simulator right now. But there we go. So let's just give it a chance. We'll stay in the flight deck and not look at the outside. Autopilot, we're in thrust ref, LNAV, VNAV speed. So that's good. So it should be in climb thrust, which it is. It's lowering the nose, and it's going to climb up to 10,000 feet. Yeah, avionics working really, really nicely, which is what I was hoping for. So I'm overall very pleased. Oh, look, nacelle anti-ice. It's put on the anti-ice. Is that automatic in the 7.4? Or have we got it on up here? It's already on. There we go. Turn that off. Oh, no, it's complaining about icing. Not sure. Not familiar with this airplane enough to know. Bring the flaps into 1. Accelerating towards the up speed. Flaps up. Yeah, it's refusing to load in. Sorry about that. So there we have it. 747-400 large cargo freighter. Really cool, really unique airplane. And as far as I can tell, a very nice machine. There's the autopilot off. With some serious avionics. These 747-400 avionics have been done really nicely. I'm looking forward to trying this one out. I reckon this will be good for longer flights on VATSIM as well. I think it just needs, let's take off the oil throttle as well, it just needs the simulator to let it shine, and I think we'll be in a good place. I can't really, I think that the handling was a bit funny on takeoff there, but yeah, now we're underway. It should let me overbank it. Yeah, it will, because it is, of course, a classic style Boeing and not an Airbus. So there you go. Happy to let us bank all the way through. Let's get the nose up and the power off. Very nice. This is a cool machine. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how this comes along. So next is the 747 GST. This is their sort of super tanker. It's retired now. It's an aerial firefighting air tanker. And there were 3 of these built, so 1 less than we had on the large cargo freighter. In terms of configuring it, I don't think there is going to be much else to do except have the firefighting version. But yeah, I'm on their very global super tanker. So this is a cool airplane. Let's take it for a spin. So here we have the 747-400 global super tanker, and as you can see, same problem. Seems to be a particular issue with the 747. I can't get it to load in. Again, I'm Ethernet cabled into a Wi-Fi router that's running on fiber at 250 megabytes. So I don't understand, but there we go. Again, nice model underneath here. I can see there is potential. We know the model from the large cargo one is good as well, but unfortunately, it's getting difficult to really try it out. I mean, this time it's just amazing what does and doesn't load. Look, this engine's loaded in quite nicely, but then if we go onto the upper wing, occasionally bits of the flaps are missing, and certainly you can see the wheels. Oh, the wheels have sort of loaded in now. That's promising. Look at that. There they are. We have wheels. Yeah, ridiculous. But otherwise, a nice model. Look, you've got all these sort of 3D bits, the air grills under here. No idea what they actually are vents for. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with my simulator. It could just be today. I don't know. Same old problem, though, there with the way the controls aren't quite loaded in. So anyway, you'll see that this is very similar experience to the large cargo freighter, except it does have the ability to drop water. This is an impressive machine because, of course, it could fly almost anywhere in the world in 20 hours and anywhere in the US in 5 hours. So that makes a lot of sense to have a airplane that can deliver fire suppression in that sort of time. So yeah, let's take it for a spin. Now the avionics are all the same. Let's release that parking brake. Let's pull up the engines. I don't know if the toga button's going to work on this one. No, can't get that to work. We're going to do a full throttle takeoff again. But yeah, there we go. Full power. Got some sounds this time, which is nice. So that did load in. And back here you can see our water panels. There's our water gauges and there's a control panel. So we'll see that in flight. That's the big difference with this one, really. Let's see if it does its early rotation again. There's a sign on the runway there. Not good. Okay, rotate. No, that's better. So this time the trim seemed a bit more balanced. Let it weathercock. And we're up. Positive climb. Gear up. Look at those wheels all out of line as well. That's because 747 has steerable gear at the back. So yeah, it'd be nice to try that out. But like I say, the visual model is just not loading in. Don't know why. Anyway, Gotta get the nose up. It's a powerful machine. Toga thrust. It can really climb. Not sure whether it's slightly overdone or not in this model. I haven't flown this aircraft, but we don't have many passengers. We do have a lot of water in this one. Let's put the autopilot in. LNAV VNAV, thrust ref, LNAV VNAV speeds. That should lower the nose, I'm hoping. There we go, eventually. And we're climbing away. See how the bits of the flaps go missing as well? Disappointing. But a nice, I don't think there's any trouble with this actual aeroplane. I suspect this is just, yeah, our usual issues with Flight Simulator 2024. Because indeed, even the lights haven't downloaded, as it were. So let's move on to the fun bit, which is the fact that this can dump water. Do need to raise the flaps there. I love that about the Boeings, by the way. They actually will not target an overspeed, unlike the Airbus. So the flaps now I can raise it up. But yeah, it put the target speed 5 knots below the flap speed. Really good feature. Yeah, so we can head over to our little panel over here. You can see the water gauges. You can choose on here all sorts of things I don't fully understand, like which part of the airplane you're going to use, specified ground speed, GPS, or I can press the yoke switch and it would just start draining, and it drains fast, but there it is. And the airplane does change weight accordingly. Nice effect as well. Look at that. Pretty cool. That's one tank done, onto the next tank. And you can do pre-charge and all sorts. Yeah, they've done a good job with it. I wonder if no, my shortcut I thought would work isn't working, but there we go. So I think you could have some fun trying this out, definitely. But it's the yoke switch button there just allows it to just start falling out. Huge amounts of water. But there we go. So yeah, more to be learnt over here as to which part, what all this actually does. And how you're what all of this means. I mean, it's so confusing. Amazing that they've modelled it. So really impressed with that. And again, lovely flight deck. I think Working Title have done a fantastic job with it. Look at these little details like the window heating wires and so on. You can see the 747-400 is a little bit older than the 787, of course. But yeah, really, really cool. So happy with this. Just can't wait to see the exterior in all its glory instead of this sort of low poly FSX style model that we're getting with the way it's streamed. So the next aircraft is another big Boeing. It's the Miltech Simulation C-17A Globemaster III. This is a heavy airlift transporter for military applications, can be used for other things and is often used in airlift and rescue sort of things and humanitarian relief, but of course is used by several militaries around the world. A very successful airplane all round. There's about 280 of these built, I believe, or something like that. Just under, and it's obviously flown by the US Air Force primarily, but also the Royal Air Force in the UK, Royal Australian Air Force, the Qatari Air Force, the Canadian Air Force. So yeah, flown throughout the world. It's a really interesting design. It's just very similar to the A400, smaller than a C5 Galaxy, but yeah, this is a cool one to see in the sim. And Miltech have a history of making military aircraft for flight simulators. So again, another sort of third or first party aircraft instead of being an in-house one. So let's give it a flight. So here it is, the C-17A. Now this is a heavy airplane. These are heavy airlift vehicles. It has a maximum takeoff weight of over 250 tons. So for context, it's heavier than a Dreamliner. That's partly because it's obviously older and it has 4 engines, but it can also take a huge amount of cargo. I believe about 70 tons of cargo. So yeah, it's a real beast of an airplane. This is a long-range airplane. You can fly it long distances, and it obviously has an FMS and so on. But it is slightly unusual, and unlike the A400, not as familiar as the other aircraft we have. So let's jump into the flight deck and take a look at how to do that. Just before, though, just looking at this, I like this fictional Boeing livery. This is their old sort of retro 90s livery. But yeah, it's nice. You can see, again, the panel lines. I like the warping of the metal around the frame of the aircraft. I like that. These aircraft, like the A400, have huge tails. They have to have this for stability, because on a normal airliner you'd have more fuselage back here below the tail. And so if you don't have that, what happens is the airplane is sort of front biased, and it'll be unstable effectively. You need a big tail right at the back, sticking out the back here, so that it can keep the airplane pointing into wind as it flies forward, because you're missing side area here where they have the cargo ramp, obviously. Lots of details, military bits on here that I don't understand, and that's going to be true of lots of things about this airplane. So yeah, let's jump in and give it a look.
Now the flight deck is really, really lovely, really unique. We have our separate comms panel up here, which I quite like. I think it's quite a good idea. You've got this really interesting autopilot panel. Again, this is not familiar Boeing autopilot style, although the modes are perhaps a bit more familiar, LNAV, heading, hold, and so on. Down here you have your engine displays and the avionics, which all look very military, very different, and the most confusing FMS I've tried to use in a simulator so far. I love the throttles being like this. I think they look really nice. Just such a crazy design, but makes sense for, yeah, just the way they positioned it. And it's quite a wide flight deck as well. Your other pilot's quite a long way away, so they have to be reachable. And what you can do is on this EFB down here, you can set the doors as you wish. So now open the cargo door, and you can see there it is now open, and we can lower the ramp down. There it goes. Bang. Excellent. And you can have ramp leveled, which I guess would be used, well, I'm not sure. There you go. I'm sure there's an option for that. What's the ramp slide? Oh, there you go. So that would be if you were trying to have it for people jumping out, I suppose. Or in fact, there's the paratrooper doors, more likely to be used for jumping out, which fold up and out of the way. There you go. And then it has the baffle in front of it. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, some cool details. Really cool. Right. What else can we do in here? We can adjust the fuel. We can adjust the payload. And you can put in, here you go, let's have the presidential limo. How does that work? How does that look? There it is. Look at that. Got a few of them in there. Really cool stuff. So yeah, as with the heavy Airbuses, you can also have a bit of fun loading in the different bits of equipment. Let's close the cargo door. Nope. Ramp up. Maybe that'll work. There we go. Ramp up. Cargo door closed. There we go. I think we got it. Clunk. Awesome. Now the FMS seems okay. So if I put in KCHS to KCHS, which is where we are, we're at Charleston Air Force Base again. But then I can't ever get through to the bits I want to do. So I can put in a bit of a flight plan. I can't get through the perf in it for some reason. If I put in departure arrivals, we're on runway 33 again. So I put 33. Maybe I can get a departure in here. And execute. Oh, there we go. We managed to get a departure, so that's something. But when it comes to performance, I can't get through to the next page. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, it's something I need to learn. I'm confident that this is a FMS you can use. I just don't know how to use it myself. So I'm not going to get too bogged down with it for today's video. This is something for the future. We're going to look at a lot of these airplanes in more detail as time goes on. And obviously this is a military-based airplane. I mean, look at all the cool instruments. And this stuff, these buttons work, you know. Depressurization buttons there. I assume this is to do with being able to open up that cabin door. Speed brake, does that deploy properly? There's a marker there. Where's the speed brake lever? I don't even know. Yeah, it's quite something. So this is going to be a bit more of a headache to learn. Look at that. You can even change around the day, night for the HUD. Off, night, auto, day, having on auto. Yeah, just to show you that this is a cool and well made add-on. There's no doubt about it. What's that saying is available? I don't know. This is such a confusing flight deck. Right, let's get it in the air. So, parking brake release. Pretty straightforward. We'll go full power for this one, please. We have some flaps out. Quite a lot of flaps, actually. Full power. Stabilizer. And look at that, it has a max time, max thrust time remaining, 4 minutes. So it tells you how long you can keep the engines at that thrust. I absolutely love that. Now it's complaining about the stabilizer. I can hear that. I'm not sure why. So that's set off the config. But I was hoping it would load in a reasonable position. Perhaps it's because we've added all that weight. Let's see if it gets in the air. There we go. No trouble. Positive climb. Gear up. Actually pretty stable. There we go. In trim. Climbing away. Lovely. Now you'll have noticed one of the strangest things about this airplane is the airspeed goes in the complete opposite direction. This brings the flap bring the flaps up a stage. So yeah, it runs complete inverse. Altimeter works the same way, but the speed doesn't. I have no idea how they ended up with that design, but yeah, pretty interesting and incredibly disorientating for me. So this is actually the overspeed bar here. I've spent my life flying airplanes where it's the opposite way around, but there we go. Powerful machine. We can bring the thrust back now. I absolutely love that it counts down your thrust, and this just shows you that these avionics have been taken seriously. So this is I'm impressed at this one. This is worth upgrading to. If you think this could be an interesting machine for you, then this could be worth. Oh, let's get those flaps in. Pitch up a bit. It's so disorientating, that speed tape. Yeah, this could be one that is worth your time if you are interested in it, because this is a lovely add-on. And for the upgrade price if you were already tempted by Deluxe, this is Premium Deluxe. So it's another £30 ish. So even this airplane on its own is enough to put that in view, because this is fantastic. I absolutely love this one. I'm surprised at the speed limit being so low. It's not happy going even at 250 knots, and that's with all the flaps up. Let's slow it down. Let's see if I can get any of the autopilot to engage. Good luck with this. Flight director. There's a flight director. Then we choose some modes. So let's go to Alt Hold, LNAV. Now where on earth the autopilot button is, I have absolutely no idea. Roll rate, autopilot, there it is, on. I want the auto throttle. Put roll rate to norm. Let's set the speed to 200. Bring the thrust back. Oh, it's hard this. This is hard. Speed nav. I mean, there's modes here. I don't know. Let's do 220 knots. And yeah, look, you can even set the approach path to a specific angle. That's interesting. ATS. There we go. Auto throttle active. I want 230 speed hold. Let's do that. There they go. Okay, we got the airplane doing something for us. It wants to level at 4,600. I'll put it to 5. Let's try to see if we can get it to climb to 7,000 feet. Yeah, a lot to learn about this. My goodness. Alt hold, no. LNAV, no. I want it to go up in like flight level change. Is that possible? If I press VNAV. No. Alt hold. Okay, we'll be happy with it in alt hold then. Lots to learn. Awesome. Well, there's clearly a lot more I need to learn about this airplane, but this has been a great start. I think this is a lovely machine. If I can just figure out how to load in the flight plan properly into the FMS. I love this window down here too. You really get to see the scenery down there. This airplane can be used for low, slow flying, as well as interesting tactical stuff and landing in short off-road runways. So there's a lot of fun to be had with it. Yeah, really like this one. And it just looks lovely. They've done a great job on it all. And it seems to work, you know. It's nice when you're in an airplane and the buttons aren't doing what you want, not because they don't work, but because you don't know what you're doing. I just wish I could get this perf in it to work in here. I don't know, maybe they didn't include it. Maybe this would be a sort of airplane that's flown through paper, and you would set the speed yourself, or it just calculates it and you don't type it into here. I don't know. I know sometimes they use civilian FMSs and convert them. I just don't know what's true in this machine. Our next aircraft is the Boeing CH-47D Chinook. This is from Blackbird Simulations, and if we can figure this one, this is obviously an iconic airplane. This has been around a long time. You can have a lifting, like a cargo lifting. You can have the default configuration or a passenger configuration. And there's a few liveries. So there's a Billings livery, the Blackbird livery, there's a military livery. So let's try it out in the military. That's how I've mostly seen Chinooks over my life. So yeah, let's give it a bit of a whirl. So here it is, the Chinook. Absolutely awesome design. This is a clearly well-used airplane. I love the paint chipping off around the front. Now the Chinook is, you'll all know it. It's been used around militaries around the world, including obviously the United States, but also the Royal Air Force, which is how I've seen it at lots of air shows growing up. It's very maneuverable. It's very capable. It has 2 gas turbine engines at the back that power both the rotors, and then it can use either one of those engines, believe it or not, to power both rotors. I didn't realize that until this video. It also has a reason for having those two rotors like that, in that it's good for stability when you're changing the center of gravity. So that's particularly good for hauling cargo around, because of course you can adjust the lift on the forward rotors or the back rotors accordingly to keep the airplane level. So it's less sensitive than a normal helicopter with one set of rotors and a tail rotor. It doesn't need a tail rotor because both sets of propellers or rotors, rotate in opposite directions, so it doesn't have that torque effect. And it also means that when you're dropping paratroopers out the back or something, or changing the weight in flight, it's more stable. Things I didn't realise until this video. But yeah, very, very manoeuvrable, very cool. It does an absolutely amazing show when you see it at air shows. And look at the detail in there, all the wiring around the feet. That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to trying this one out. Again, another aircraft that is, this is definitely a payware quality. There's no doubt about it. It's a nice exterior model, and let's see if we can take it for a flight and get away with doing anything in it. I don't know any of the controls for a Chinook at all, so that is my job to learn now. Flight on this one is nice. It's again detailed and scratched. I like that more and more. I like seeing these airplanes, and we've had quite a few in Flight Simulator 2024 that are chipped away and worn and well used. That's how most airplanes are, I'm afraid, all round. Now, how you can, we can wander into the back. Now, if there's a way to open that rear cargo door, I don't know. It looks like we've got some seats in there if we need to. Yeah, I'd have to find the control, and I just don't know where it is. Not too many gauges in here, but still, I'm sure there is a way to do it. But let's just take it for a flight. It's relatively straightforward, actually. Let's release the parking brake, and then I can gently take it off the ground. That's a bit aggressive, but there we go. Now the wheels don't retract on the Chinook, obviously, but it is quite stable and easy to fly, actually. Of all the helicopters I've flown so far in 2024, with an Xbox controller at least, this one is the easiest one to do it with. And you do get that noise. Let me just turn up the sound for you and see if we can get that rotor sort of slap, because it makes such a great noise. Let's see if I can do it. You can just about hear it, and then you do a sudden change. Oh, not too far. Let's get back round. There we go. I don't know if you heard that, but there is a bit of a as it does it. It's really cool. Powerful thing though. When I haven't got much weight in it like this, it really wants to just zip around, and that's an advantage. Just turn the sound down. That's an advantage of having the two rotors like this, is that all the engine energy is being used for lift and forward thrust, as opposed to having some of it being used for having to keep the helicopter from rotating around. There's that noise. Awesome. Let me try and do that again for you. You got to give a bit of forward speed, and then you sort of spin it round like that. And moving forward, and then fantastic. Love it. That's great. This is a cool one. Not sure I'd take this on long journeys. It's not really a long-range airplane, but you could do some great tactical support, some stopping in your garden, if you have a garden big enough to take a Chinook, which sadly I don't, but maybe a nearby park. Let's try and land it. Let's bring it in for a landing. This is so easy to fly. Of all the helicopters, like I say, this one is actually feels quite intuitive for me. I don't know if it's easy to land, and I'm sure I'm doing it all wrong, and I probably overstressed it in every which way possible. So if I wanted to slow it down, wow, it's got loads of energy, loads of thrusts available to it. Swing it round. You can just swing it round. I love that. See if I can land it at least on the runway. Would be nice, wouldn't it? I think I'm just going to keep oscillating like I'm in a half pipe. Come on, down we go. Stop going forwards, helicopter. It's too fast. Like, it really just wants to go. Oh, awesome sounds. There we go. Right, we got the speed back. It's just disorientating to have the nose up so high. Not something we do in aircraft, or fixed wing, I should say, not aircraft. This is an aircraft, of course. Okay, we got it in a bit of a hover. Don't want to fall out the sky. Hard to judge when you're actually completely level.
I don't know how, when you see these pilots hover these immaculate air shows and do all sorts of amazing tricks, I don't know how they do it. I think this would benefit from a proper throttle, obviously, like all the aircraft I've been flying. Drop it down again and again. Come on, we can do it. Hey, and down. Thank goodness for that. Awesome. A lot of fun to be had with this one. Nice sounds as well. Next up from Pilatus and Coronado is the PC24. This is Pilatus's first jet aircraft. Obviously, we've seen their PC12, very, very popular single-engine turboprop. This one famously used by the Flying Doctors. They landed on dirt strips, so in Australia. So let's take it for a spin as the air ambulance livery, of course. And here it is, our PC24. This is a really, really cool aeroplane. It is got some features that allow it to fly around off-road, which is why the Flying Doctors use it in Australia, such as these trading link gears, which give it the ability to smooth out the bumps. Also, I imagine, make it nice and comfortable for the passengers, even on those slightly firmer landings. Pilots love trading link wheels. It's always very popular. It's a nice exterior model. Coronado have done some of the best aircrafts in Flight Simulator 2024, and this one is going to be up there with them all around. Details lovely, a little bit clean, but it is a new airplane. This was only launched in 2015, so it's cutting edge really as it goes, and you can see that from look at those awesome landing lights. Absolutely love that. Again, the detail we're getting out of these aircraft, just glorious. Look at that, even the little Pilatus logo tucked in those landing lights. Fantastic. It's a great looking machine, a little bit generic perhaps to me. It just looks like another corporate jet, but it is a smart one nonetheless. So let's take it for a bit of a flight around in Australia today. A bit unusual for us. Now it does load in with what looks like an engine fire to me and the master warning on. I don't know why, but yeah, we don't have an engine fire, or the engines are certainly running, but yeah, a little bit confused about the lighting situation, but we have some flaps out, so let's get it into the air, see how it flies. So brake released. Now this is going to be a very automated aeroplane. Yeah, also having trouble with the throttles, don't appear to move position, although I do have control of them with the my throttle axes anyway. Away we go, bumping around on that runway. Pretty unprepared surface. I don't know what speed it's going to need. I'm thinking about 120 knots should get it off the ground. Oh yeah, bit of a quick rotation there. Positive climb, gear up. Having some strange bad luck with this one. I was particularly excited. The Coronado aircraft have been super. I think that's the gear overspeed there. So it does have the avionics working, but I can't get the gear to rise through the shortcuts or anything, in fact. So I don't know what's going on with this one. Maybe give it another load. So after a reload, unfortunately, we're going the same problems here. So there's either a bug or glitch with this particular airplane or my simulator for some reason. But anyway, it is loading in properly. The whole airplane did load in quickly. So it's not the usual issue in 2024. But yeah, there's a lot of promise with this airplane. Once they get this sorted, it's quite clear that there's, I mean, none of the controls in the flight deck are, the controls are moving, but the actual, or the what I'm commanding is happening, but the controls aren't moving in the flight deck. All the warning lights are on, can't raise the gear at all. So yeah, lots to be changed and to come with this one, which is a shame. I was looking forward to this one from Coronado, but there's quite a lot of bugs going on here. So I'm going to hope that that gets sorted later on. It's very, very twitchy in pitch. That's one thing I can tell about it. This should be a really nice machine to fly. It's very twitchy in pitch. It's quite hard to control. And yeah, it's just way sensitive. This is the tiniest amount of control, and it's just, look at that. I'm not even at half control there. Very, very, very twitchy. More stable in roll, nicer in roll. But this is a cool machine that could be used for some interesting things. Very modern airplane as well. So I hope to see this one become more stable and get it for a proper flight in the future. Lovely detail. We've got the proper avionics again. We've got the custom screens. This is what we love to see in a default airplane. So yeah, one for the future. Now we have the Pipestral Taurus M. This is a self-powered motor glider, so you can take off on your own and take it gliding. So let's get this one in the air. So let's go for some gliding on a lovely day here in Italy. Now it looks like this has been set up for a tow, which we definitely don't need, so I'm going to try and get rid of that. But yeah, this is a motor glider, so we have a piston engine in the back. There are electric versions of this now, but we are going to be flying the piston engine, which we can climb up. It's a lovely looking machine, nice and streamlined, so it should be nice for what we want to do with it today. Really big bubble canopy as well. Right, we are free, and look at this awesome flight deck. Absolutely love the view, side-by-side seating. I don't know if that's very common in the glider, but yeah, really nice. Let's go. So, full power, please. Interesting sort of screw design on the throttle there, which I haven't seen before. Tricky to keep the wings level on the glider, but it seems quite stable. I think it has side-by-side wheels. Yeah, it's quite unusual for a glider. Let's get it up in the air. Maybe a stage of flaps needed. There we go. Raise those wheels. Awesome. You can hear the variometer beeping away. So nothing's going to happen fast. This is a glider after all. I've got our airspeed somewhere. Quite out of trim. So getting it in trim, bringing the flaps in. Now, this is a whole other world to what I'm used to flying. It was trimmed there, fully forward, by the way, it looks like. There we go. So yeah, lots of things I don't understand with gliders. I don't know what half these buttons are doing on here. I suppose that's push to torque. But yeah, anyway, these are a whole art form in their own and something I'm not familiar with. I've never done gliding, and I do regret that. I would like to try it one day. You have got your slip indicator, instead of being on an instrument, because we don't really even have an artificial horizon here, you just have this piece of string. So if I yaw the aeroplane, that should show me that I'm, yeah, putting the airflow at the wrong angle. Nice. The animations on the soft sort of cloth materials in the sim have really come along a long way. So the idea is not to fly around like this with the engine on. The idea with this is to climb, and then turn it off and go and pick up a thermal. And if you want to have a go at that in the sim, we can go to weather, and a really great feature, show 3D thermal. Now this is really good because it gives you an idea all around of where there is lift to be had. And in a way, my propeller is actually making this work. So you can see over there, it's not just thermals, it's also showing you lift from air going over mountains and so on. So let's see if we can get rid of that engine. How does this work? Do I just bring it to idle? Okay, success. Eventually found out how to put away the motor. And there we go. Now we're gliding in our Taurus M. This is beautiful. You could have some great fun. Gliding's a great thing to do in Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 now. But this is a really nice machine. Incredibly precise. It feels a little bit sterile. I'm not convinced about the roll is exact. But I don't know. Maybe gliders are like that with that big wingspan. You can see there, it's like it's on rails once you get it into the turn. But yeah, now we're just cruising around, and it's an art form of reading the weather around you, reading the clouds, reading the birds, and working out where thermals are. And you can go for ages like this, just cruising around. It could be a very relaxing thing to do. If you want your engine back, I figured it out now. You need this. You need the engine system on, and then you have this little switch here, up, down. So up, and our motor pops out. Does produce a lot of drag. But there you go, propeller's in line, and then we hit start. And we're away. Yes, you just need to have the throttle not fully open when you start it, which makes sense. And now you can sort yourself out and get yourself back to base. That's probably the sort of gliding I'd like to do with that reassurance. But yeah, there we go. This is a cool one. Bit unique, really interesting flight deck. Nice views out of it. Absolutely lovely. This would be great in VR, I'm sure. And nicely modelled. Just like I say, I don't know what gliders roll is like. You can see there, when I let go, it just absolutely locks in, but maybe that's pretty accurate. I don't know. Next up is the Saab 340. Now this is one of the airplanes that definitely pushed me into getting the premium deluxe version. We've got a cargo version here, but this is a famous airplane used in passenger and cargo variants. About 450 built, so relatively popular. Swedish twin-engine turboprop. I used to fly the Q400, which is another twin-engine turboprop. Perhaps a competitor to the Saab 340, perhaps not, depending how you look at it. but we're going to take a passenger variant up, and I wonder if they've given us any airline liveries. Yes, they have. We've got Sprint Air, Rex Airlines, and that's it. Sadly, no Flybe livery, but there we go. So let's take this one for a spin. Saab 340 then, twin engine turboprop, Swedish like we said, and made in the 1980s. It's a bit old now, it's out of production. Lots of competition in this sector starting to come from either the jet aircraft or larger, similar sort of fuel burn aircraft. And you had the Q400, of course, fierce competitor for this aircraft. They did make a Saab 2000, the longer version, but this is the shorter 340. It's a lovely machine. I really like the look of it, and it's a cool one to get to take into the air. Does not use PT6A engines, funnily enough. It uses General Electric turboprop engines. This would be pretty noisy in the cabin, I imagine, but let's jump into that flight deck and take it for a flight. Lovely sounds on this. Coronado, yeah, have done a lot of the aircraft in the premium and deluxe versions of Flight Sim 2024, and it's paid off. This is good. I've got a few bugs with the flickering screens there, but look around, all the custom dials, it's fantastic. Now, you have no FMS as far as I can tell, so you could... Oh, yeah, we do have an FMS. Here we go. Right, so this is just like the Q400 one I used to have. It's like a universal. Yes, it is. It's a universal FMS. So you can plunk in your route here. Again, getting custom FMSs like this included in the default aircraft. Just the dream, right? You can put in your flight plan, and you can load it all in like that if you want. That is going to be worthy of a video on its own. This is going to be a fun airplane to mess around with. Look at these cool switches over here for the radios as well. What a neat idea. I believe that would be the volume, and then you choose where you want to transmit. So we'll transmit on COM 1 and then adjust our volume with this little slider. That's awesome. I think I'd like to see more of that. Yeah, really cool, really 80s, especially that style hand mic. This was quite popular back then as well. This would be used if you weren't using a headset. You would talk straight through that. Now, in terms of the performance, the universal FMS is not used for performance, it's just for navigating, so that's why it's bolted on down here. And what is actually going to be used for performance is over here. So we're taking off. We're going to do flat 15 takeoff, apparently, according to our sheet there. So let's set them to 15. Oh, they make a big noise. And we're going to rotate 105 knots. That's on there at 10.5 tons. Now, out of curiosity, if we change the weight in the EFB, what happens? Flight performance, mass and balance. Let's set the airplane to full. So it says 10.5 tons. Loading aircraft. Loading aircraft successful. Still says 10.5 tons. That's a bit disappointing. So you have your speeds down here, and I'd like to see how to change that round. It's currently listed at 10.5. I don't know if that's automatic. It doesn't seem to change when I load in through the EFB, but yeah, you can input some performance figures into this universal FMS, by the way. So you can type in, for example, your alternate fuel that you want. I don't know, let's say it's 250 kilos, or it's in pounds actually. Must remember that. It is in pounds, this airplane, for some reason. And you can type it all in like this. There you go. And we've got 3.2 or 3,200 pounds on board right now, but there we go. Let's not mess around too much. We've got flat 15. We're going to rotate at, as we agreed, 105 knots. I don't know if there's any... Oh, you can drag your little bugs around, so let's put that in. Let's put in V2 actually, that'd be more important. V2 of 106, there we go, and VR of 105. Right, brake released. And let's go. Now, does this have a rating detent for takeoff? It's got a gust lock, so very similar to the Q400. We'll just go full power. Away we go. Pretty sprightly off the line. It's quite powerful really for its size. 105 and through we go. Let's rotate. Positive rates. Gear up. Ah, it's complaining. So that seems like perhaps a flap issue. Perhaps have too much flap for takeoff. Lots to learn about this airplane as well. Like I say, what we're not used to for... There you go, yeah. Wants less flap. So I'm not sure we had the right flap setting for takeoff there. Unlike default aircraft of past, we need to know what we're doing with these really to get the best out of them. So full flight's required. This is just an example, just a test to give you an idea of what you're looking at, and maybe if you're on the fence about which version you're looking at picking up, or you just wanted to see a little bit more about one of these airplanes. Yeah, lovely. This is a nice one. Very nice indeed. Just stuttering here on this departure. So this airplane is obviously, you know, a full airliner. You can load in your route, you're going to have a bit of fun trying to display LNAV down here like you're used to. Let's put the flight director on. Old school autopilot this. Let's see if we can just get it to fly level. We'll do heading mode, and okay, now the autopilot engagement is actually hidden away. It's down here, unbelievably. So yeah, that's an old school design to have the autopilot engaged down there. So that's the autopilot in. It's in heading and alt mode. Maybe it needs both in. There it goes. Yeah. And I've got 5,000 in the window, which it should now level off at, and it's going to turn around onto the heading. We're accelerating. Bring in the flaps. And no auto throttle. You don't get auto throttle on regional turboprops like this. So you've got to adjust those continuously, which makes it a really satisfying airplane to fly. But yeah, this is a cool one. I'm going to enjoy this one. I think we're going to take this one for some proper flights as well, because it's just been done really nicely. Really nice old school flight deck. Again, nice bits of wear. You can see bits of paint missing. Looking forward to getting this one a few more regional flights. Now we have the Zlin Savage Norden. This is a brand new aircraft with aluminium wing, electronically controlled slats. It's designed for serious off-road, short runway, or even, yeah, like I say, off-runway flying. So I'm looking forward to this one. This could be exciting. Oh, some nice liveries too. Ooh, these are pretty good. I do like the shock sort of green Alpine livery though, so let's go with that. Zlin Savage Norden then, like I say, aluminium wing with electronically controlled slats, designed exactly for this sort of serious bush flying. This could be good fun. Visual model is pretty clean. I'd like to see a little more grime and so on it for a bush plane, but I suppose with Microsoft Flight Simulator's new dynamic sort of mud modeling, that should appear as we fly it around, especially in muddy conditions. Love it though. Really cool looking airplane. What I would give to get to fly one of these, or have a flight in a serious bush plane and go off-roading. I absolutely love seeing it on YouTube, and I'd love to have a go at it. Sadly, not something I've done, so I'm not experienced enough to give you much advice on it. Unfortunately, I would look pretty much like this individual sitting here in full stripes. Not the sort of typical outfit you'd expect for bush flying, but there we go. Let's take it up in the air and see if we can get it off this short strip. Powerful engine as well, 140 horsepower for a very small light aeroplane. That's pretty good going. Right, flight deck also very clean. Nice custom gauges again though, so no complaints. Brake release, full power please. No messing around. I'm going to hold that tail down just a little bit. Oh, that looks like it's over revving. And we're up and away. No trouble at all. Look at that. Absolutely ridiculous. And you can see those. Have those slats deployed? No. I wonder how we get that to happen. Or maybe they're not automatic. Maybe it requires a bit more flap out. I don't know. How do we get the slats out? If I keep pulling, does it go? Nope, it will stall instead. Something to be figured out there, certainly. But as you can see, no trouble flying with very little airspeed. Nice. This could be good fun, this one. Again, more for sort of missions, spot landing and exploring scenery around places you don't know. I quite like the Microsoft includes recommended airports. That's how I knew about this one. But yeah, I really, really want those slats out. That's bugging me now. Okay, I found the slats. They're actually attached to the yoke of all places in a specific switch, so you can drive the slats out. Slats don't produce much drag, although they do provide a bit, but they provide a huge amount of angle of attack room. So they are designed so that you can raise the nose of the airplane without it stalling. So look at that, we're down to 40 knots. We've got no flaps out at all. So slats don't increase the amount of lift at a given airspeed. They just allow you to raise the nose more and more and more before the stall. They energize the airflow of the wing. So if I had to fly an airplane and you could lose either the slats or the flaps, there it finally goes, under 40 knots. Crazy. I'd rather lose the flaps than the slats, because I like having that angle of attack protection, prevents you from a stall, whereas flaps can actually sort of push you towards a stall in a weird way. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. Very, very responsive on the roll. I mean, it's almost aerobatic, this thing. Absolutely ridiculous. So I reckon if we take it back to our airstrip where we started from, which I've already lost, we can see if we can get that speed right down. Quite nice, actually. I was saying it looked a bit clean, but actually With the sun on it in the right angles, you can see all the rivets. Aluminium wing, metal wing, which is not the case on all aircraft of this size. Yeah, look at those slats. Awesome. I need to probably assign a specific button for them. Look at this. Look at this. We are now full flap, full slat. It's completely out of trim, but I can get it down almost below 30 knots here. Can we get below 30? I think we can. There's 30. And this is because we can have that nose nice and high without it dropping a wing or stalling on us because of those lovely slats. So out of interest, so there's 27 knots. Now if I raise the slat, I'm expecting it to just stall. Let's bring them in. So now let's try and get it below 30. There it goes. Yeah. Yeah, so they're doing something. And the way it drops a wing, love it. It's cool. This is a cool airplane to experiment with. Interesting design. Right, bringing in for a landing. We haven't done many landings in this video. I apologize for that, but it's more about getting a flight in all these machines. I also can't get the sound to load in on this one, unfortunately, so we are stuck without that. Let's bring it back to idle. Go full flap. Oh, even at 45 knots, we're too fast for full flap. Look at those slats. I absolutely love them. There's the runway. I'm going to aim for that one. We're going to diving down, 40 knots. Now we've got to be a little bit careful because this is an uphill landing strip. Okay. So I'm going to keep a little bit of extra energy on. Not have it quite as slow as I would otherwise. You could probably get a slightly large, you could definitely get a large airplane in and out of here. There's a bit of a headwind according to that windsock. Barely moving, 40 knots. We're going to have no trouble here. Going to need power to get up this hill. That's just awesome. And dunk downward. And stopped. Done. Set the parking brake or we'll roll straight back down that hill. Excellent. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a really difficult video to make actually. There's been so many new aeroplanes. This is now 45 new aircraft we've taken out in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Overall, my thoughts on whether you should go for Deluxe or Premium Deluxe are a little bit complicated, as you can imagine. The Standard Edition comes with so many aircraft and there's so much in there, and it's taken me ages to fly just those. There's actually 30 new aircraft just in the Standard Edition alone, lots of them to a very good standard, including the Airbuses. But having said that, the Deluxe Edition does include some seriously impressive GA alternatives, and for the £30 extra it costs, or roughly, it is, I think, not bad value. It just depends if you want that sort of aeroplane. They're missing any sort of big airliners in that category. So the Deluxe Edition, the new aircraft you're going to get is the Albatross, the Cessna AGTruck, the Cessna 404 Titan, the Cessna 408 SkyCourier, and the Dornier SeaStar. Dornier SeaStar, it doesn't tempt me too much. The Albatross is absolutely lovely, however. The Cessna 404 Titan is a beautiful, beautiful general aviation, slightly older sort of style, but capable aircraft. And the AGTruck is great fun for crop spraying. I think it's slightly nicer than the air tractor that we have in the Standard Edition. You also have the 408 SkyCourier, that big high wing cargo aircraft. I say big, it's a relatively big for a general aviation style airplane. So those are all really nice and they're all done to a really good standard, but you have to be interested in that category of airplane for that to be worth it. I think they're all great, and I think they're good enough that actually you might be tempted to try them more than even if you didn't like that style of flying. But again, you've got to have some sort of interest. They're, propeller airplanes, low speeds, low and slow, great for flying around and enjoying the scenery. And in particular, that Albatross is so lovely for seaplane flying. I'm really, really taken with it. So yeah, you've got to have some interest in that category. If you want to go for your airliners and you love your airliners, then you are going to have to go for the Premium Deluxe Edition. This includes, of course, our 747-400 variants, so the firefighting and the Dreamlifter. I really hope, I want a 400 passenger variant. They've done the avionics right. I've just had bad luck with the simulator, and this is where 2024 needs to improve. Not being able to stream in the whole airplane, absolutely ridiculous. It needs to be fixed. We're 2 weeks in and it's just been a problem, in particular, like I say, with the 747. So those are really, I think they got a lot of potential. We just need to get the bugs fixed. It may be a bug that's causing that as opposed to the streaming. The C17 is lovely as well. I didn't get it fully streamed in today either. Again, complex. Also, the C17, I should say, has some performance implications. It's definitely one of the heavier on performance, but it's a lovely add-on. You've also got the Chinook in there and the Saab 340. So if you like your airliners, yeah, the Premium Deluxe is the way to go. You've got some awesome things in there. Airbus H225, if you like your helicopters, you're going to have. So there's something for everyone in the Premium Deluxe. You've got the, in particular with the jets and the high performance complex aircraft. But like I say, if you like your general aviation, I think the Deluxe Edition will actually be good value. Before making this video, I wasn't too keen on the Deluxe Edition. I thought it didn't offer much value because of the strange choice of airplanes in it. But actually, they're high detail and they are really good fun. But if you like your airliners or your jets, you're going for Premium Deluxe to get yourself those Boeings, those heavy Boeings, in particular C-17, 747-400 variants as they are in the Dreamlifter and Firefighter, and that Saab 340. But that's not to say there's anything wrong with the PC24. I didn't have much luck with it in today's video either, or the KingAir, but they're not really my sort of thing. But yeah, I actually think all three variants offer respective good value. You've just got to know what sort of aircraft and what sort of flying you want to engage with in the simulator. That's all then. Thank you so much for watching. Like I say, we're going to go through these aircraft in more detail later on as we take out individual airplanes for full flight. So do please subscribe if you'd like to see that. We'll see you in another video or live stream soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.